Hello, Haftor Medböoe, and welcome to Interval Interviews number 16.
Hello, Tom Bancroft, and thank you very much.
You seem to be in some Matrix style futuristic landscape with a crane and a very handsome, slightly younger version of yourself doing
That's
a.
my that's my kind of alternative reality that I'm living at the moment.
You're doing a Conservative Party politician power stance.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
Where are you actually in the world for real?
In my bedroom, I've gone back to being a bedroom guitarist. I thought that would be the thing to do in my 50s.
And what we're seeing, is that actually you, or is that some kind of hologram avatar?
That is actually me. And it's not that long ago, you cheeky bastard, but I mean, the last couple of years have been a bit hard on me, I know.
Where is that picture then in the background?
That's at the top of the Opera House in Oslo.
Okay. You're Norwegian and Scottish, or are you completely Norwegian, or are you part Scottish, part Norwegian, or is there other stuff in there?
It's beautiful that after so many years of knowing each other, there's still things I can tell you. Uh, I'm not Scottish at all, other than by accent, and I suppose by dint of the fact that I've been here for a million years. But I'm actually half Norwegian, half Danish.
Okay, well, see, I always thought you were Danish.
Yeah, you see, that's forgivable because my mum's Danish,
Right.
and I grew up like the first part of my life in Denmark. So I'm a bit of a phony Norwegian. I was born there, and my dad was Norwegian, and I have a Norwegian passport still, which I'm very grateful for in these Brexit times. But yeah, I kind of identify probably more as Danish. Don't tell my Norwegian friends that. But
Is there a word for no? It's like Nornish or Danwegian.
no, but Norwegian, like Espen Eriksen, who I work with a lot, he calls me half breed, which is nice.
Okay, okay, that's nice. That's a nice feeling. Is there some link between Norwegian and Glaswegian? Is that there's a Wegian thing there going on? Are you a Ouija, a Norwegie?
God, I'd never thought of that before. I certainly hope not. Um,
Well,
no
I think
offense.
Nornish, kind of Nornian.
Nornian, I quite, yeah, yeah.
Um, and so, but where did you grow up?
So the first 5 years in Denmark, and then I was in Northern Ireland for 2 years
Wow. Okay.
in Bangor, just outside Belfast.
Is that like a giant sausage?
Yeah, well, it was more like a giant bomb at the time because it was the 70s. And then, and then Edinburgh pretty much ever since, apart
Okay.
from a few forays elsewhere.
And why were you moving? Why was your family moving around? Was it a job related thing?
Yeah, yeah. My mum got a job as an occupational therapist, so came over here.
Great. And did you have to like learn English when you came here, or did you already speak English?
No, no, no. I spoke not a word, but I mean, I think kids just sort of pick it up overnight. I don't remember learning English
Yeah.
because I was already, being a precocious little bugger. I mean, I spoke Danish and I could read and write Danish by then. At 5, and then and then I went to nursery in Bangor, and I guess picked up. And but I think like nobody can ever place my accent. A lot of people think that I'm from the West Country, and anytime I get in a taxi, it's like, oh, are you from Somerset? And I'm like, I've never been there in my life. But I wonder if my R's, as in the letter R, the way I pronounce them, is from learning English in Bangor.
I have a similar thing because I moved to Scotland when I was 9, and from Oxford. I'm having my hat's not very good.
I
I'm
think
wearing a hat
it's
because
beautiful.
I've got lockdown hair, and I can't. I have a live-in hairdresser, and I can't get her to cut my hair or dye it for love nor money. So, well,
Oh no, it's beautiful, Tom.
it's just
It's luxuriant.
actually I could wear this hat.
That's a good hat.
I think if you move at a certain age, your accent. So, for example, if I go to London, I start calling everyone mate. All right, mate.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I go to Australia, it's like, all right, mate. So my accent, I tend to, it moves around a little bit. And I also get asked if I'm from the West Country or various odd, yeah. So
Maybe we should move there.
to
And
the
then
West
people would,
Country.
yeah, because then people wouldn't ask us all the time. They'd just
No, they would. They'd be going, "Are you from Romania, or are you from Wolverhampton?"
No, I reckon we'd fit right in. It'd be like the
You
Archers.
probably would.
Yeah.
You probably would. And then how did you get into jazz? How did you get sucked into the vortex of permanent joy?
Well, I started off on the sort of classical route and played violin for quite until I was 14, and hated it every single minute of it because I wasn't very good. Not to say that I'm necessarily any better at guitar, but I prefer the sound of it. And
Haftor, you're wonderful on the guitar. I'm not going to let that
thanks.
go.
Yeah, I was fishing. Thanks for that, Tom. And the pound is in the post. Yeah, hook, line, and anyway. So I did a deal with my mum that if I could play guitar, if I did classical guitar, then I could quit violin. Yeah. So I went to this guy Francis Cowan, who you'll remember.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure,
He was a wonderful man.
He was a truly wonderful man, like a total polymath. Played 9 instruments to concert standard, and played and spoke 9 languages as well. I mean, he was like,
really,
and a complete.
Which languages do you know?
Oh, like really diverse. He spoke Russian. He spoke Portuguese, both Brazilian and Portuguese, and Swedish, and and Gaelic, and
Wow.
it's just like bonkers. A brain the size of a.
He was a fantastic jazz bass player, wasn't he?
And he was a fantastic jazz bass player, but he was also a jazz guitarist.
Yes.
And he also played the trumpet and the vibes and lots of other things. And he was a great cellist as well, and a lutenist. And
he played luton.
Lute, and that,
I like the idea of playing a city.
Yeah, a lutenist in Luton, a lutenist.
Is that the correct term for someone that plays a lute?
Yeah. I'm like a university professor in that. I know shit like that. Yeah. Anyway, so
your authority.
Thank you.
I bow.
Thank you very much. So I used to go around to his house, and he was hilarious because he had a dog called Sandy, who he'd spend hours cooking for. It was vegetarian, and he'd cook it a 2-course meal every day. This is no word of a joke, and it would have main course and dessert, and it was really flatulent as a as a result of this diet.
His dog was vegetarian. Was that like, well, I'll move in with you, but I'll tell you right now, I'm vegetarian. I'll have to have a dessert.
Yeah, and I won't even have meat cooked in the house. No, I don't know what the deal was. It was quite peculiar. But then, so quite often I'd go around and I'd have to wait for an hour while he cooked for his dog. But other times I'd go around and I'd have to wait for an hour while he was practicing, because he'd just got into the stride of practicing something. And he'd go, well, just take a seat outside the room and I'll be with you when I'm finished. And, an hour later. And he was sitting there, and he was taking me through classical guitar stuff. And I wasn't really enjoying it because it wasn't my thing. But while he was practicing jazz guitar stuff. And so eventually I talked him into sort of ditching the classical stuff and moving on to the jazz stuff, and that's kind of how I got into jazz.
And did you when you were waiting for an hour, did you feel annoyed or
never? No. I mean, it was a treat getting to listen to him play, and as for sort of waiting for him to feed the dog, I mean that was pretty funny.
So tell us about your professor in. What are you a professor in?
Well, I'm not really a professor at all. I'm an associate professor, which I think is someone who hangs out with professors. I associate with professors. In music. Generally.
And so do you do a lot of teaching as part of that?
I don't do a huge amount anymore because I'm sort of looking after a few departments. I'm head of something called Screen and Performing Arts, which is the film department, TV, acting, and music.
Wow.
So it's a kind of desk
This is
job.
at Napier University.
That's right.
Wow.
I mean, but I still get to teach a couple of jazz modules, which I love. That's almost like being on holiday for me now, and it's great, actually.
And we had a wonderful time last year in Italy.
We did.
And there's this great Italian bass player called Fulvio Di Castri that I was lucky enough to play with a few times, both in Scotland and Turin, prior to this trip. And he invited us all around to his house. And Haftor and I went there early and watched him cook this quite simple tomato sauce, which was a work of art, wasn't it? It was just this...
It was beautiful. It was performance art. It was it was lovely. And I knew Furio from like academic stuff that I've done. He's been at conferences that I've been at. So it was kind of bizarre walking into his house and realizing that I knew him, and we had a whole bunch of mutual friends as well. And then that you'd played with him, and the tiny world imploded.
Yeah, it was really great. And I've been cooking that sauce with a few variations ever since.
Me too.
And
can't beat a bit of lardo.
We've also been working on trying to set up a jazz musicians organisation, which is progressing like a snail travelling on a very slippy floor.
I've just finished writing an article for a website called academia.edu, and the topic was kind of return to normal after the pandemic. Everyone talks about getting back to normal, and it occurs to me that the music industry really doesn't want to go back to normal because normal was pretty shit.
Yes.
And so it's a kind of call to arms based on a lot on what you and I have been talking about and what we've been talking about with Steve Hamilton and others, about how do we reset it? Because it seems to me like, because everything's stopped now for a year and will probably be for at least another half year, it gives us an opportunity to kind of think and reflect and maybe come back and say, no, we're not up for this anymore. But
you've been releasing a lot of music, and what's the name of your label?
Copperfly. And I mean, I've just released a couple of self-releases so far. I mean, the idea is to grow it and release other stuff, but to do vinyl only. And that's as a kind of backlash to Spotify. But I mean, I have to, I'll put my hand up and say that what I've done is, we release on vinyl and then a year later we re-release on Spotify. And the idea behind that was to get two bites of the apple. But the more I think about it, the more stupid it sounds. I don't know why any of us are putting anything on Spotify, because there's no money, and then you have to sort of question your motives, really. And the bottom line is it's vanity, for me.
Well, but I mean, the whole reason I do everything is vanity. So I mean, it's
yes and no, but I mean, there's also something about
especially this hat.
Well, that is vanity right there.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, I think most of us make music because we have a need to make music, but at the same time we put a lot of hard graft into it, and it'd be nice to have a sort of some value attached to it. Yeah.
Yes.
And I think
and
Spotify has just totally sucked that out. And it's not a sustainable future for anyone.
You've been quite innovative with the packaging, so we did an album. I might play a little bit with the wonderful Pete Furness, and it's available in a fortune cookie.
It is indeed. I mean, that was a bit of a daft idea, but it kind of worked okay. And it was, I tell you what, it broke even very quickly because the production costs of fortune cookies are very low. But also with the vinyl, I mean, I'm finding that it's breaking even, which I couldn't do on Spotify.
No.
And I don't think people are buying CDs in the quantities that would make sense anymore either. So I think vinyl is a kind of nice thing if you can make it a sort of nice thing to have in the hold, and also like daft things like a fortune cookie. I think I had to sell 43 to break even on that, which we did in a week. I haven't made a lot of money on it either. Having said that. And also the thing with fortune cookies is they have a sell-by date.
Yes. So does the music.
Indeed, yeah.
We've just done the first half of the gig, how did you think it went the first half?
You know, I don't know. It's not for me to say how I think it went, Tom. I think it's for
Well,
the
you
good,
don't have to
the
comment
good
on yourself.
listeners.
You could talk about my drumming.
Your drumming was, I mean, it was magnificent. You know, no, I agree with that teacher. Who was it you went for lessons with who shouted at you and said,
Clifford
if you haven't
Jarvis.
made it, if you haven't made it by now, I mean, Christ's sake, Tom, what are you
What are you doing?
doing that for?
It's lovely to talk, and it's lovely to play with you. And as you
Always.
know, I adore your guitar sound. It's just a thing of absolute architectural beauty. And
Thank you very much. And
I know
I
you
adore.
spend a lot of time exploring all of that, and it's really wonderful. How long has it taken you to do that?
Well, I'm not finished yet. I don't think, but I mean, I think it took me into my 40s. Actually, I don't think I'd said anything interesting on the guitar until I was in my 40s. So it's a long wait. So maybe these teachers who make us wait, they are onto something. You know.
That might be
Yes.
a good place to leave that hanging.
Let's.
Well, listen, Haftor Medböoe, thank you very much, and thank you for your music and for everything else that you do. And I love you very much.
And thank you for being you, Thomas. See you later.
All right. Bye.